Well, this is the third Masterbilt plecked Epiphone acoustic guitar in the past year. All of them had the little pleck label. None of them were right. I'm not saying that the pleck machine's no good, because that black Gibson you just saw, that was flawless. So it has as much or even more to do with the operator than it does with the machine. Just saying. So we're going to do the same job. We're going to correct the frets, lay of the neck, lower the action. Shane was saying this guitar has never been right since it was new. Just slacken those strings off. First we'll take this saddle out and see what we've got under there. Okay, I just want to see if there's any shims under this pickup that we might be able to remove. Oh yeah, okay, I'll have to release the string retainers first, and then I'll pull that pickup out and see if we got anything underneath there in the way of shims that we might be able to take out to reduce the action. And the answer is no. There are no shims, so that's not going to help us. We're going to have to take it off the underside of the saddle. The other thing about these guitars is they have that shadow magnetic pickup at the end of the fingerboard. And of course, when you're dressing frets, I know the last couple of times I ended up removing that and then reinstalling. We got that out nice and clean in preparation for the compensated nut blank, and I can feel that file grabbing in a couple of high spots. I mean, it's not terrible. The pleck did a reasonable job, but it isn't always what it's made out to be. I remember when it first showed up on the scene that, you know, word on the street was it's the death toll for luthiers. Well, anyway, I never let it bother me because I was finding mistakes with it right out of the gate. And we're just correcting one more plecked guitar. And you know, I'm happy to give credit when credit is due. Like I said, that black Les Paul of Ray's, it was plecked and it was done flawlessly. I think you got that at the Woodstock store here in Ontario. So that would probably mean that whoever they got in Toronto at head office, I believe that's where the pleck machine is. He knows his stuff. He did a perfect job. Unfortunately, with this one, well, the pleck needed a little help. And now finally Shane will be able to play this guitar flawlessly, perfectly in tune, action smooth as silk, for the first time since he owned it. Typically I start with 320 grit. Now I got these, I don't know if any of you saw that video from, I don't know, a couple of years ago or last year at least, where I got bundles of 100 of these 320 discs for $1 a piece. They had some more at the local restore and I just stocked up again. So I think I've got, I don't know, 1,700 pieces for 17 bucks. Yeah, so I just kind of trim these off. So we got a swath about approximate width of the fingerboard. And that's the grit we start with to get rid of the marks of the mill file we just saw used. And then we'll step up to successively finer grits right up to 1200 and bring these frets to a mirror shine. Okay, that's our 320. So 2 pieces of 600. I mean, you can hear audibly the reduction of grit from 320 to 600. Here's our second piece. Here's our second piece of 600. Just slip it along the scrub block. Get that second go. That's it for 600. got 1200. Slip it around the block. Second piece of 1200. Our 40 steel wool. Much better. While it was good, we didn't have to. I didn't have to remove that pickup this time, which is nice. It really depends on the neck set, and on this one, the neck angle allowed us just to tape over it and do our fret dress without disturbing it. Compensated nut, step 1. Cut it a little longer than you need. Step 2, let's get the thickness of the original nut. 190. Step 3, let's bring this down to 190. Okay, now we gotta go really easy. I'm leaning on this side. Check that against the guitar, 190. 190. That fits in there beautifully. We need to cut the fingerboard curvature on the underside of the ledge. That's our next step. So I can use my Gibson curvature plate again because it's the same curvature as the Gibson. So liking that. Well, I'm liking the curvature match, but obviously the leg needs to come down, so let's do that. You do have to check this for squareness as you're working it down. Okay, let's check it against the guitar. Okay, now we're getting there. There's a little trick I use to kind of rake out that inside corner to make sure it's good and crisp. So I just basically got a 1/4 inch chisel and I'm raking it out to get a good sharp inside corner. The other thing that I'll often use is I have a stop here so I can push the nut up against that stop and file a little bit. So I've got this file where on both edges the teeth have been ground. It allows me to just kind of butt up against that stop. Again, clean up that inside edge or even the underside of the ledge to soften it a little bit. I think I might have gone a little too steep on that one. Let's check that again. Very happy with that fit. Now we're going to radius the crown. Two things I'm going to do. I'm going to radius the crown, and I'm going to smooth out that back edge. Turn on the dust collector. Now that we're getting closer to the final length, I will cut this back a little bit. I'm not cutting it flush yet. You want to leave a little bit of forgiveness there. Still have to cut the slots yet. Well, we have the original nut, so let's use it. That's our string spacing, already laid out for us. We'll rough that in with a 36 thou. You can see why you want to leave that crown good and thick. Lots of material to play with. This is my 55. I'll just get that A started as well. We'll switch over to the 26. This we can flip and use 36. And then I just use 16 for the top two. 16, 16. Next. Okay, now I'm just tracing that radius across the leading edge of the shelf. Just flipping this for rule out any human error. Okay, back to the sander. We're almost ready to put strings on, but if my memory serves me well, I believe we need to take this down quite a bit now on the bass side. Well, the frets are leveled, we can actually get away with it. The treble side was fairly good, so I'm really going to taper this with the foot switch and the stationary disc sand. Then we'll throw some strings on and have a closer look. Now we'll put some strings on. This is our next step. We've got to figure out, first of all, if we'll be able to utilize that original saddle, and if we can't, how much compensation we're going to need. So we've got to verify the 7th fret and the octave to figure out whether we're going to have enough room in that saddle to do what we need to do. See, it's 2 cents sharp. Here's our 5th string. 6 cents flat, D string. Ooh, man, that's like 12 cents flat. So that's obviously not going to work. Here's our 3rd string. It's also 12 cents flat. Here's our 2nd string. It's also flat. And our 1st string. Can't use that saddle. We'll need to make up a cantilevered compensated saddle. So we'll continue with this in the morning. Welcome back everyone, Mike McConville here again, Stratford, Ontario, Canada for String Tech Workstations. So we've got Shane's Epiphone Masterbilt. We have ascertained that that saddle is not going to work. There just isn't enough real estate or thickness in that saddle to be able to line up the intonation. So, saddle's got to be changed, so let's get started. Obviously the first step is to get that original saddle out. These are new strings, so I just put those on, so we're going to hang on to those. So far, I'm sure we'll put another set on before this whole job is completed. Now, one thing I have noticed about these guitars, I've worked on a few of this exact model. I like this design. The saddle is actually canted on a bit of an angle. The actual slot is cut on a little bit of an angle. And I think it's a good idea because it means that the string energy is less prone to want to push the saddle over and crack the bridge. When it's on a slant like this, as the string comes up out of the hole, it's really pushing down instead of wanting to tip the saddle. Anyway, good idea. Obviously the blank is going to have to be cut with that in mind. So let's start. First step with the replacement cantilevered compensated saddle blank. So the first step is to cut it so it is just a little bit longer than we need. Do that. By the way, I do have my bandsaw on an air-driven foot switch as well, so we'll make that first cut. So our next step, of course, is to thin out the leg so it fits into that slot. Looks like we've got 115 and 116, so 116 thou. So this is obviously way more than that. Let's bring that down. Okay, so 116 is what we're after. We got 155, so we got a ways to go here. So that's 131. 137, so still got a ways to go. 116 is what we're after. $125, $125. So we're gonna take it down 9 thou. Ooh, 118.5. 116.5. Just gonna finesse that a little bit on the inside. Okay, let's go check that against the guitar. So we're just basically determining that this will indeed drop into that slot, and it will. So now we're gonna cut it to length and round off the ends. So I'll finish off that inside edge with my file just to round it so it goes into the saddle slot in the bridge. I think this is still too long, but that's okay. I just wanted to kind of show you how I deal with this inside edge to round it out. So I did cut that back a little bit more. This really gives you a good idea how far back that saddle does lean. Now obviously it's way too high, so the next two steps are we're going to reduce the height of the leg. But before I do that, I'm going to radius the underside of the ledge. So we'll cut that ledge first. Okay, so that's what we got at this stage. Now we're going to cut that leg way down until that overhang almost kisses the rosewood. We're going to go with that, and now we're going to radius the crown of the saddle. I'm walking you through this next step so that you can kind of see where my thought processes are going. This is the original saddle, which, as you saw earlier, all of the notes were way flat. There's no way you'd be able to intonate that guitar with that saddle. But what I've done here is I've actually traced the position all the way across where the focal point was on that original saddle, right? Your B was back here. The high E was right to the very edge of the original slot or the original saddle. This one was also right at the edge. I've actually drawn it a little bit beyond the edge. The low E was towards the back edge, and it was 2 cents sharp. It actually needed to come back a little bit. All the other 5 strings all needed to move forward. What I'm going to do next, I'm going to leave these 2 saddles on here. So this map kind of shows you where we were with that original saddle. The low E was 2 cents sharp, so we're going to move that back, the only one that we're going to move back, towards the back edge. The A was 6 cents flat, so we're going to move that forward. The D was 12 cents flat, so we're going to move that, both the D and the G, pretty well right to the edge. And then we'll adjust them later as need be. The B was 8 cents flat, so we're going to move that forward quite a bit. And the high E was 5 cents flat, and it was right to the very edge of the saddle, so we're going to move that one a little forward. Okay, back to the radius disc sander. 2 things we're doing here. We're going to cut that radius at the leading edge, and I'm going to soften and roll back the back edge of that saddle. Turn the dust collector on. And that's what we've got now. So everything else is going to be done by hand. The values that I have scribed in with the pen, with the blue ink, indicate where we are now on this first run through with this cantilevered compensated bridge saddle. That's where we were. We were 2 cents sharp. Well, now we're 8 cents sharp. But you have to remember, this step is very important, and there is a reason I'm doing this step by step the way I'm doing it. I've left more real estate on that crown than I need. This string is 8 cents sharp for 2 reasons. One is the action is raised considerably because this saddle is quite a bit higher. We're just getting started. We want to make sure we've got lots of material to work with. But we do have to bring it back, and we haven't done that yet. So now I am actually going to mark on the back of that saddle how far back I want to take that. So now we're moving to the A string. It's 13 cents sharp. So it was 6 cents flat. Now it's 13 cents sharp. Once again, it's much higher than it's going to be, so I'm stretching the string when I bring it in contact with the fret. As I move back, and this is the reason I slope the saddle at this point, because as I move that back, that's 13 cents sharp, the string will drop. So the sharpness is going to be reduced for 2 reasons, the string being lowered and the string being lengthened by bringing it back. D string similar story. It was 12 cents flat, but it's only 3 cents sharp now. So I'm going to bring that back just a little bit, because again, we're going to be dropping the string down as we bring it back. So we'll really decrease all of this sharpening drastically this next time through. The G string was 12 cents flat. It's now 4 cents sharp, which is not that much. So I'm just going to bring that back a little bit too. It's 10 cents sharp, and it was 8 cents flat. So it obviously has to come back quite a bit. Because I've sloped the back of that saddle, as I bring the focal point back, the string drops down. So we take care of that extra sharpness, 10 cents sharp. And lastly, the first string, which was 5 cents flat, is now 4 cents sharp. So again, we're going to bring that back just a little bit further. Back to the drill press radius sander. And here's our next round through. So the low E, which initially was 2 cents sharp, first time through when we made the cantilevered saddle it was 8. Now it's perfectly in tune. We've nudged that back and dropped the string down. The A is still 5 cents sharp, the D is 2 cents sharp, the G is also 2 cents sharp, the B is 5 cents sharp, and the high E is 2 cents flat. So at this stage, what I'll do is leave all the strings tuned to concert pitch. I'm going to loosen off this one string, the A string, and I'm going to scrape that with a razor blade to bring this into focus. So first thing I'm doing is just kind of rubbing across that crown to know where the focal point is right now. We need to chase that back 5 cents. It's 5 cents sharp. Try that. Still a little sharp, and it's high enough it can come down a little bit too, not a problem. So I'm just gonna scribe that again, just kind of see how much we've come back, and let's tune that up again and check it. Ooh, that's just a hair sharp. Scratch that a couple of times and I know we're going to be on to the next string after this. Here we go. One more time. That's it. Okay, D string. Check that again. That is just barely sharp. Couple of cents sharp. So again, just to give you a visual, I'm gonna scribe that again. Okay, so that's where we are right now. That's where the focal point is. And we want to move that back about 2 cents. Pretty sure that's going to do it. That's it. On to the G. Scribe that one so we have a reference point. And that one is coming back. It's just coming back 2 cents as well. A couple of scrapes should do it. Alright, let's check it out. Perfect. On to the B. Again, we'll scribe for a point of reference. Yeah, that needed to come back 5 cents. And we still have lots of height, so as we scrape, as I mentioned earlier, as we scrape, we move it back and the string drops down. On this side, we've got plenty of height, so that's not an issue. I'm going to squeeze 5 cents out of that. Let's see what that gives us. That's it. We're down to the last string. So this one was registering 2 flat. So we got to scrape it this way to bring it forward. So we're also bringing it down and bringing it forward. So see if we can squeeze that 2 cents. Try that. That's it, we're done. Okay, so the saddle is now intonated, 7th fret and its corresponding octave, all 6 strings all the way across. Now we go to the compensated nut. Now that we've intonated this all the way across all 6 strings, we're going to scribe this for the last time. And that is what we'll end up with. And back to the radius sander. Now I'm just skimming the leading edge back to the line you just watched me scribe. And now for the last time, I'm going to roll the back edge to coax that string to go right to the focal point as it comes out of the bridge pinhole. Back to the guitar and on to the compensated nut. Oh boy. This isn't a real good lesson for you because I nailed this one right out of the gate. The high E string is 2 cents sharp. The rest of them are right on the money. Let me bring you in for an overhead view. So that is the elliptical cut you saw me make on the sander. And you know, honest to God, this has never happened before where I've gotten it right out of the gate that close. I've just got to touch up that high E string. I'm ready now to trim off the edges, smooth it out, and those slots are way too deep anyway, so this needs to be sanded down. Back to the radius sander. Okay, so we finally get to hear this thing. Let me just start with all the regular garden variety chords along the neck, so you can hear how in tune it is. That was G, or C, major, triad. Here's F. E, major, major 7. Here's A minor 9 or C major 7. Octave higher. E minor. I recorded a quick loop, which is kind of a, I guess it's kind of a D minor thing. It starts with a D minor 9. Then it goes to C6. Actually 6-9. I got an A in there. There's my A. There's my E. So it's yeah, C6-9. So to E diminished 7th. Another diminished 7th. To A 7 sharp 5 to A7. So the whole progression is so I've looped that. I'm just going to let that play, and then I'll just sort of blow some intervals and single lines and stuff over top. Here we go. Oh, that's too slow. I'll re-record that. Thank you.